A series of protests have erupted across Chile over the past year regarding a law that will impact the country's fishing industry. Proponents say the law is needed in order to protect depleted fish reserves and ensure the sustainability of the industry. But opponents say the law seeks to privatize the Chilean sea and its resources to the benefit of 7 powerful families that control a handful of large fishing businesses. Many small-scale fishermen say that a way of life is at stake with the new fishing law. Fishermen in coastal towns and cities across the country, like here in Valparaíso, are raising fundamental questions about whether or not the Chilean sea and its fish should be considered private property.
Nosotros como pescadores de baja escala, los pescadores artesanales, no tenemos mucha conformidad de esta nueva ley. O sea, va a ser más de lo mismo que a nosotros lo ha tratado bastante mal esta ley.
¿De qué forma ha tratado mal? ¿Cómo ha impactado?
Porque han permitido actuar empresas con arte de pesca que son depredadoras, destructivas, que han hecho triza el fondo marino, que no han dejado reclutarse ni reproducirse las especies, y eso ha llegado a tener en colapso los recursos pesqueros.
Los barcos que se llevan la pescada grande, se llevan el pescado grande, como ellos tienen radares, tienen todo para captar los manchones, los cardúmenes de pescado, y se llevan siempre ellos lo más grande y dejan el más chico, que es este, que dejan pescado para el pueblo. El otro es para llevárselo al extranjero. Son pescadores industriales. Ellos son pescadores industriales y nosotros somos pescadores artesanales. Y este es todo el pescado que le queda para el pescador artesanal.
Chile's current Minister of Economy, Pablo Longueira, a founding member of the right-wing Independent Democratic Union Party, presented the law, which opponents have named the Longueira Law. Longueira is one of a number of current members of President Sebastián Piñera's administration, who were early supporters of and later collaborators with General Augusto Pinochet, who ruled the country under a military dictatorship after grabbing power in a US-backed coup in 1973 that ousted democratically elected left-wing President Salvador Allende. Longueira and other officials pushing for the law, which essentially seeks to consolidate and expand a shorter-term law approved in 2002, say the measures are necessary in order to ensure the sustainability of the fishing industry, which has faced severely diminishing yields in recent years due to overfishing.
Lo que hace este proyecto, y por eso que genera una dificultad hacerlo, yo tengo muy claro que no es un proyecto fácil, es que el proyecto, el primer artículo, establece que el objetivo de la ley pesquera chilena es la sustentabilidad de sus recursos.
The 2002 law established a quota system that essentially divided up what's left of the remaining depleted fishing stocks. The new law would extend the quota system for an additional 20 years and make it renewable and transferable, which critics say essentially enables the future generations of large-scale fishing industry giants to be born into ownership of the quotas several decades down the road. A number of species targeted by the fishing industry have faced near total collapse since the 90s, like the jurel or jack mackerel, having declined 90% in the past 20 years in the southern Pacific, with stocks diminishing from 30 million tons annually to less than 3 million. Some marine biologists like Gonzalo Araya have warned against the potential harmful environmental impacts of the law, which he says have already manifested themselves after 10 years under the existing quota system.
Si nosotros hacemos un análisis de estos últimos 10 años de la implementación de este sistema que se quiere prorrogar por 20 años, yo creo que no cabe la menor duda en que la mayor parte de estos recursos sometidos a ese sistema están en colapso, están todos en el estado de plena explotación y en decadencia. Ellos necesitan derechos exclusivos de explotación, ojalá indefinidamente, para mejorar su eficiencia económica, que no se condice con la eficiencia, o sea, con la sustentabilidad de las pesquerías.
The Chilean fishing industry is estimated to be the 6th largest in the world and a major pillar of the national economy. Several decades of monopolization and mergers have resulted in the establishment of 4 major conglomerations controlled by 7 families, who also have major investments in other critical sectors of the national economy and abroad. Juan Carlos Cárdenas is the director of Ecocianos Center, a citizens organization that works with a number of community organizations in coastal communities on issues surrounding maritime resources and environmental sustainability. He explains how historically strong ties between the fishing industry oligarchs and elected officials have encouraged a system where political process and public policies are influenced and driven by powerful economic interests.
Es importante señalar que ellas accedieron a grandes recursos durante el periodo de la dictadura. Luego, cuando viene la salida de dictadura y el comienzo de los gobiernos civiles, ellos condicionan las primeras leyes de pesca y acuicultura del país de manera de mantener el control. No hay diputado o senador de alguna región costera que no sea elegido con financiamiento de las compañías pesqueras o de acuicultura.
At least 4 senators have been accused of conflicts of interest due to investments and ties with the fishing industry, although their votes were not voided. The law was made a priority for discussion in Parliament, with aspirations for a quick approval before the expiration of the existing fishing law at the end of 2012. However, the law's passage was temporarily paralyzed after it was determined that the indigenous communities involved in the fishing economy were not properly consulted as required by law. Cardenas explains how the fishing law and its quota system seek to consolidate a market model open to speculation, which he describes as among the most privatized in the international fishing industry.
La base del sistema es eliminar la propiedad del Estado en el acceso y uso de los recursos pesqueros, transferírselo al mercado a través de sistemas de cuotas individuales que son transferibles de pesca. Se pueden vender, comprar, arrendar o hipotecar. A los pescadores artesanales también se les están entregando cuotas. Lo más probable es que salgan del sistema en un par de años más porque las cuotas son pequeñas y tengan que venderse a la industria. Este sistema hace que en el futuro va a tener más valor la propiedad de los papeles de las cuotas de pesca que la existencia de los recursos físicos en el agua.
Ironically, for a country characterized by its extensive coastline, fish is considered a luxury for many Chilean families due to high prices that make it out of reach for regular consumption. The overwhelming majority of fish captured by the large-scale industry is destined for export to international markets, with most of it converted into fish oil or powder to be used as animal feed in aquaculture and factory farming. The fishing law has ignited questions over national food security and whether the majority of fish should be destined for domestic consumption as a national resource or exported to foreign markets under the current industry model.
Los grandes beneficiados siempre hacen la grande empresa. Le decimos que nosotros siempre hemos denunciado que la pesca en general del país está en manos de 7 familias. Que aquí valen mucho más, o sea, cuidar los intereses de los bolsillos de algunas personas que por el beneficio de las personas que se alimentan de este producto.
Some divisions have arisen among the more than 73,000 artisanal fishermen regarding the new law. A classification system based on boat size has led to ambiguities where some producers considered to be small-scale artisanal fishermen have found to be operated by or working directly with the large-scale businesses. Minister Longueira signed an accord with 2 federations representing artisanal fishermen, but other fishermen like Gino Bavestrello of the National Council for the Patrimonial Defense of Chilean Fishermen say that the groups consulted constitute a minority and do not represent the interests of the majority of small-scale fishermen in Chile.
El ministro Longueira, para que esta ley le fuera aprobada, llamó a un grupo de pescadores artesanales que representan su propio interés. De hecho, nuestra organización, el Consejo por la Defensa del Patrimonio Pesquero Chile, es el mayor referente pesquero artesanal y nunca a nosotros se nos ha llamado ni siquiera a preguntar qué opinamos de esta ley. Nosotros creemos que va a desaparecer la pesca artesanal porque básicamente le están entregando los recursos pesqueros a un puñado de empresas que va a explotarlo comercialmente.
While the fishing law currently remains held up due to the failure of legislators to consult indigenous communities, many are concerned that it will only be a speed bump to the eventual passage of all or most of its major provisions. Fishermen opposed to the measures have announced that they intend to not comply if they are signed into law, saying they are struggling to protect their way of life. Reporting from Valparaíso, Chile, this is David Doherty with the Real News Network.